Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dylan Ashcraft from Ellipsis TCG here. Doing a kind of deck profile related thing for you guys. We're past Nationals before Set 8 comes out, and what I wanted to do is just do a quick, I say quick, it's probably like 15-20 minutes, but just give you 6 deck lists that I think are, pretty good contenders just to take to an event or locals and have fun. We have 3 meta decks and 3 non-meta decks. We're going to be talking about the meta decks first. I just quickly went through them just to make sure I was in the right order, but I'll be talking extensively about them, why I think they're good, and stuff like this. And they're all supposed to be decks that you have fun with, because you don't have to force yourself to play Shenron anymore if you don't like Shenron. So first one up is Demigra Aggro, the black-blue variant. So shout out to Josh from Shenron's Lair, who is my rooming buddy at Nationals this year. He helped, he showed me his Demigra list. I talked to him about it. This is largely inspired by his list. And I know he posted a black-blue list on Trey Fairclough's channel, so if you want to go check that out as well, make sure to go do so. I'll put that link in the description below if I remember. So let's talk about the deck. What Demigra does on the front side when you attack a leader card, you mill 3, and then if they're all black, you draw a card. And then he's on untapped 2, Awakened Leader, which is pretty nifty. You get to do a lot of cool plays, actually. And then on the backside, he has the Wormhole effect. He's one of 2 cards to grant Wormhole, and that's cool. What Wormhole says is you get to Overwhelm and Dark Overwhelm in the same turn. And then when you attack a card, you draw. And then activate main once per turn. Choose up the 3 black cards in your warp and put them in your drop. So what you can do is you can refill your drop area for overwhelms without having to combo 3 cards from your hand every time. So the blue portion of the deck is an 8-card engine. We got 4 Senzubin because we are aggressively trying to do stuff. We're trying to kill the opponent. So you want to be able to do a bunch of plays. So you want to make sure you have 4 of that card. 2 Super Saiyan Vegeta. This could be any 2 drop 20k that's blue. I just picked Vegeta because I like Vegeta more than I like Goku. This is to play in tandem with Trunks, the Dimension Support card, to make him a 20k crit. And then 2 copies of Desperate Measures, just to bounce back counterplays, various stuff. You could leave the blue open when you go for your Creator Absorb play, and just kind of get rid of, Job the Tricksters and stuff like that. Or Topo. Topo's another really big Desperate Measures target. So that's the blue package. I got 4 copies of Dark Power Black Masan. This is good against the 4-drop Whis, because you play it from the drop when you're Shenron. Hits you 6 pretty well, and it also just helps you awaken, which is cool. If you play this on 1 and your opponent attacks you, you can turn to awaken and do a bunch of attacks on 1 turn. 2 copies of Power Burst. It's your negate. It's good. 4 copies of Frigid Blast Poutine, or Poutine. I don't know how the heck you pronounce it. But you ignore the Dark Overwhelm effect because you're not really playing her through that. You're playing her through a card that's going up a bit. But when you play her, you get to choose up to one Demigra with an energy cost of 4 or less from your deck added to your hand. So what it does is it searches a second copy of Demigra Demonic Overlord, which is the main card of the deck. 4 copy of Gravy in Demigra's Thrall. What this card does when you attack or combo with him, if your leader's black, you choose up the 2 cards in your warp and you place them in your drop area. Really good card. Allows you to recycle a lot of stuff. That way you can do it for, overwhelm plays and all that fun stuff. 4 copies of your super combo. Because you're not always going to have 5 cards in your warp, because you're going to be manipulating it with Leader Effect and Gravy. This card's just strictly better than the Supreme Kai of Time super combo. Then, like I said, the main key component of the deck is Demigra, Demonic Overlord. I think this is the card that pushes the deck back into being a heavy meta contender. It was, part of the meta a little bit before Toa came out, right after Time Regulator, because Time Regulator is insane. But since we're going to a more aggro version of the deck, Time Regulator doesn't really have a place in the main deck anymore, I don't think. I mean, it could. It's maybe. I think it's better in the side right now for slower matchups. So what Demigra does is you can tap 2, burst 2. If your leader is a Demigra or Toa, place him in your drop area. choose 1 or 2 cards in your life, add them to your hand, and then play a Gravy and Putine from your deck or Warp, and then shuffle it. So you get a 15k body, and a 10k body, or a 20k body, because we're playing 1 copy of Gravy Lightning's Might, for 2 energy, and you get to Awaken. Really good effect, really strong. Just playing bodies. Ideally turn 2. So the way I've been playing the deck is turn 2, Demigra, play Putine, play Gravy, Putine, add the second copy to Demigra, pass, turn after, or Leader Swing pass, and then charge, Demigra again, play the other 2 copies, search another Demigra for another 5k combo, go to 4, or 5 if you have Dark Power on the field, and you just attack a bunch of times in the turn, play one of your overwhelm targets, and just do what you can to get them to a low life total, or even kill them, honestly. 4-dimension support Trunks, you just want to keep playing vanillas. That's a good generic overwhelm target. I could see you bumping this to 3, honestly, or like dropping it to 3 and bumping up something else, but I think at 4 it's probably pretty fine. 1 Gravy, Lightning's Might, this is your secondary target. It's a 20k. It doesn't have the extra effect that Demigra Thrall does, because Demigra Thrall gets to bounce stuff back, which is really cool. 3 copies of Time's Choice Supreme Kai of Time. What this card does, it lets you look at the top 3 cards, grab a battle card, and put it in your hand. And going through your deck, cycling, and finding like Mirror Assault from the Skies, Mirror Crater Absorbed, or any of the other cards in the deck is really good. The 15k body that you can swing at your opponent with. 2 copies of Trunks Dimension Sniper. You can overwhelm him in if you have 3 cards in the drop at least, and then you can warp one of your opponent's cards that cost 3 or less. So it's good for like any low cost blockers, or just important cards. Like if you're playing against Toe, you get rid of Time Regulator and you're pretty good. 4 copies of Trunks Time Regulator. This card is lovely. Lovely. Katie just did the lovely motion. I don't even know. So what is this commercial that's going on? Katie, watch this. There's people dancing in bed on screen. I'm very confused. But when you play Trunks of Overwhelm, you draw 2 cards, drop 1. Really good. Just allows you to cycle through your deck, while also refilling for like your Dark Overwhelm play, which we play. Umbral Invitation Toa. That's a hell of a sound I just made. And she's good because she lets you swap or snatch a 3-drop, or 3 or less from your opponent, and it's just another 15k attacker. And then for the stuff that's bigger and the attempt to kill your opponent, I forgot something from the deck here. Strange. 1 Forced Absorption Demigra. This is definitely inspired by Josh's list, because he was playing 1 copy of this, and this card is wild when it goes off. So it's a 5-drop triple striker that when he attacks, if your leader is a demon god, aka Demigra, and you have 15 or more black cards in your warp, you just choose all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring Barry, and then combo them. So this is really good in the red-yellow apes matchup. So when they post up on their board, especially when they're going second, they're like, oh, okay, I'm fine. I've got 3 Bardocks and a King Vegeta. You go, alright, cool. Here's Demigra. Please die. Because, you just combo everything. And your guy is a base 70k. 60k. It's pretty good. Mirror Assault from the Skies, the Overwhelm card that is spiking incredibly so right now. Overwhelm for 7, tap 1. When you play this card, draw 1 card, and then untap 1 at the start of your opponent's next turn. Card's really good because it's a 30k double striker that lets you draw a card. And then the 1 copy of Mirror Crater Absorbed, aka I win, unless you have a negate. So I would probably play Champa in the deck. I think the physical version of the deck I have put together, I dropped something from here for Champa. I think it might have been... I don't know. I don't know what I dropped. Oh, the Trunks Dimension Sniper. I pushed him to the sideboard in the physical version I had, because I wanted to, go in for kills with Mira, as well as, like, pressure harder with the Super Saiyan Vegeta double strike crits. I think Demigra aggro is one of the most fun decks in the format, like, without a doubt, and something you should definitely try if you haven't. 5 out of 5. recommend. Next up, we have American Control, aka the Pat O'Neill Special. This isn't his exact deck list from the top 16 of this year's Nationals, but definitely recommend going to watch that video on the YouTube channel, on his YouTube channel, or the 3xG channel, whichever one it's posted under. This is a little bit different. I'm pretty sure it's only 2 cards different, honestly. But because I can't argue. Two cards different. I can't argue with him on, Janemba lists. That man knows what he's doing, and I have a lot of faith that his deck is really absurd. So it's tricolor red, blue, yellow. Hence the American Control, because yellow is essentially our white from Magic. So the first difference from his deck is we're playing 2 copies of Gal Cannon. I think this card's really interesting because it's interesting early on in matchups when you can get rid of stuff that your opponent plays. So going against Green Broly, when they tap 2 to play their Paragus or their even their 1-drop Broly, honestly, you can try and catch them off guard just by killing it outright and being like, okay, you have to have the 4 drops to go into it. Otherwise, you should lose. And then you just get the minus 15k to random things. I was going to say, you could play one in counter window 1, the other in counter window 2, but they ruled that counter window 2 doesn't work for Gallic Cannon anymore. But yeah, I think it's just it's not as good as it was hyped up to be, but I think it's a good, interesting removal spot or card to help you kind of survive against stuff. 1 copy of Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. This card, hold on, Gallic Cannon's also good in the mirror matchup for one or 2 reasons, mostly the 1, but I'll talk about that in a second. So Hidden Power E Supreme Kai, it's how you get your kill in. It's pretty obvious, kill Nemba. 4 Topo Righteous Aids. This card is really, really good. My friend described it to me this weekend. He just kind of circled the word aid on it in the little messenger image editor and goes, this card is literally aids. So if you don't know what he does, you can play him for 2 during your opponent's turn and counter an attack and negate it. And then you discard 1 card from your hand, and then your opponent, if they want to attack any other times that turn, they have to discard 2 cards as cost. So, came up in one of my friend's rounds because he was playing Victory Strike, and he couldn't go in with his Victory Strike because he only had he had 3 cards in hand, but he had to evolve into his Victory Strike, so he had to discard 1. So he didn't have enough cards to hit the requirement, and that basically bought the guy the win. Next up is, it's also just really good when your opponent goes wide because it kind of just stops their turn. So 4 copies of Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku's next. This is your pseudo combo. It's perfect red energy, and it just says plus 10k draw card. 1 Zeno button because the card is broken in this format. It says you untap all of your blue energy, and most decks are playing blue. And while you probably don't get as much value as Zapes or Shenron does out of it, you're still going to get value. 4 Dimension Magic and 4 Sons of Being are pretty obvious, as well as the 4 Beers to Fickle Gods and the 4 Bojack. These are all just, your 4 Dimension Magic is the best negate you have access to. 4 Bean for defensive and aggressive untapping. And then Beers and Bojack are primarily your energy. However, Bojack you can arrival in and do some cute stuff with. 4 North Kais, your super combo. That major yawn. 3 copies of Uneasy Alliance on Goku. This card is broken. I talked about it in the 41-minute video I posted last week where I talked about how you can negate with Uneasy Alliance and then bounce back counterplays, bounce back Bojack, just bounce back all these essential things that kind of just help you keep surviving. So you just bounce back the Bojack and just have multiple negates in your hand. Or, reoccurring negates, have multiple of them. 3 Undying Spirits and Gohan. Cards pretty good in the format. Bounce back, whatchamacallits. anything really, 4 or lesses. It's good, allows you to attack, pressure boards. Talked about Bojack already. This is the other major difference from Pat's list, is I'm playing 2 copies of Reality Bender Janemba over his 2 copies of the AOD. Now, the more I think about it, I think Pat is definitely correct to play AOD over Reality Bender, because Reality Bender probably isn't going to get played for 1 very often, as I'm assuming you're going to have a board. However, if your opponent decides to... If your opponent's playing Shenron, they could objection on, 2 or 3, and have 4 energy, and allows you to play him for 1 before you go into all your negates and stuff. But I think AOD might just be better in that situation. I think you could sideboard 1s and then swap in the other. 3 copies of Ultra Instincts on Goku the Unstoppable. I think I've talked enough about this card over the past week. It's really, really strong. Counterplay, counterattack, can't be negated in any area by your opponent's skills. And then when you play him, you just choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring parry, and bounce it back. And then if it's your opponent's turn, you draw a card. Really strong for Gogeta 7, really strong for Kaioken, really strong for Mira. That happened to me a couple times throughout the event, and that was rough. Thinking I had game, and then having my opponent tap 4 and just bounce back my win con. Then after that, we got 4 copies of Bojack Pirate's Pride, and then 3 copies of Champa the Trickster. These are pretty, standard. Champa taps down big threats, and Bojack mills your opponent during their turn, and you get to negate an attack. And recycle it with Uneasy Alliance on Goku, because that's fair and balanced. Again, shout out to Pat for topping Nationals with this list. That's 2 years in a row of him topping Nationals. Both years playing Janemba. So, next year at Nationals, I'll be upset if Pat doesn't play Janemba, because I feel like he has to make it a 3-peat. Score that hat trick. Unless Janemba's banned, but, can't fault him for that one. Alright, next up on the list we have Broly Yellow-Green. This is probably the second most interesting of the deck list to me. So, this deck is similar to the one Dalen Mack played. He played this concept. I don't know if he played this exact build. I haven't seen his list yet, but the idea behind it is you auto-win against Shenron, and that's pretty funny how you do so. Which I'll talk about that portion of the deck first, because it's a 3-card engine, I believe. So it's Overwhelming Energy Broly. You activate, so when you play this card, if you have 3 or more cards and you play in your battle area, you draw until you have 6 cards in hand. Now that's typically something that doesn't happen with the deck, because, Broly's effect says you can only have 2 battle cards, but when you play him, you can, or when he's on your field, you can activate main, drop him, or put him in a drop, and then evolve into a Broly BR with energy cost of 7 from your hand. So you don't evolve into it, but you play the 7 drop. So you get to attack with him for double strike, and then swap into the 7 drop guy, who says that activate main, choose 1 card from your hand, place in your drop area, choose one of your opponent's cards in rest mode, and that card can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn. Which is really cool, because Shenron has to tap itself to search for Dragon Balls. And if they're already tapped, that means they can't search for Dragon Balls. So you just kind of lock them out, and they can't win the game. It's also or they can't even awaken, so you just kind of beat their face in until eventually where, they either draw into all 7 Dragon Balls naturally, or you win. You say aggressive? It is aggressive, Katie. It also is pretty good against Janemba, because you lock their leader out, and they kind of can't mill you anymore. And then that's pretty much it for the yellow, spicy engine. Otherwise, it's pretty standard green Broly stuff. You got 3 of the 1-drop, Goliathmite, Paragus, Shocking Death Ball, the best super combo in the game, Rampage Trigger, is that what I just said? Trigger? I'm tired. 4 Broly Berserker Origins, 4 of the 6-drop, 4 of the 8-drop. We are playing 4 copies of the new SS Broly All Out Assault from the Magnificent Collection. I think this card's really good. You can arrival them in for a green and a yellow. And when you play them, already switch to active by a skill during your turn, you can choose 1 battle card with energy cost greater than or equal to your opponent's current energy and kill it, or you can draw 1 card and choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and switch to the rest mode. It's good. It's green yellow energy, and you can arrival in just for another attacker, or as something to like deal with particular threats, and then just blow it up so you can go back into your chain. One of the Broly secret rare because this card is absurd, and there's literally nothing in the game that does what it does. I mean, come on. It discards your opponent's entire hand. Katie's just mimicking me in the background. 1 copy of Cold Bloodlust and 3 copies of Great Ape Son Goku Saiyan Instincts. This card's really good, especially in Green Broly, because when it's in your drop area, you draw to 6 with your leader. If you don't have anything else to play that turn, you can just tap 2, draw 2, and then be at 8, which allows you to get the most benefit from having like the 6 and 8 drop on your field and stuff like that. And then it's just a really useful card to pitch off Broly Demonic Intimidation because you can get value out of that. Where it makes the discard effect not feel too bad. So yeah, that's Green Broly. Those are the 3 meta decks I would definitely recommend checking out and playing at like a local or like a Halloween tournament for those people at All Things Video Games, which I'm upset I can't go to, but so well. Up next we have the Rogue decks. I don't want to say non-meta because these have places in the meta probably. Especially with the one, I really hope it does because it's super fun and one of my favorite bullshit random untapped decks to play. So this is Red-Green Broly. Working around, I wanted to build this deck first when Set 7 came out because I'm a big fan of the Arrival concept, a lot actually. And I really like the 6-drop Broly, Tragedy Foretold, because I think this card's broken. It just happens to, be really difficult to play in other decks. So, first off, the leader. The leader is always critical on the front side, kind of like Draft Box Vegeta, but when you play him, you get to play Dormant Legend for free from your deck. And then when your life is at 4 less, you may, I think, draw 1 card, untap 1 energy? Yeah. And then you flip the card over. And then on the Awakened side, attack, draw 1 card, and then activate battle, discard something, blow something 10k or less up, I think. So not the craziest leader effect ever, but being critical on the front side is really interesting. So for the deck, we got 4 After Image Technique. It's the best negate that Red has access to. And it's Sparking Negate. Sparking Negates are very important right now for so many different reasons. But, I mean, killing things is always a benefit. 4 copies of Broly Demonic Origins. This card actually has a really cool going back to After Image, it interacts really well with your leader. So if your opponent swings with like the Bardock Ape, you can After Image it, minus it by 10k, and since the battle's still going on, you can just discard a card and blow it up with Broly. But again, moving on to Broly Demonic Origins, it's a dual color land. It's a check land. It's red-green energy. You're probably not going to play this card very often, just because you're not panned, you're not going to draw off of it. But it's still a good card to consider. Or it's still a staple in your red-green deck. 2 copies of Denial of Hope. It's a really good counterplay. It hits anything 20k or less. 2 copies of Dormant Legend, so the deck forces you to play one. I don't think it says choose up to. It does say choose up to. Well, it doesn't force you to play one, but you can still get value out of it. If you have it on the field, but you get more value out of it by throwing it into the drop with this card. We're going to skip over the super combo because super combos are super combos. You have to play them. It's a shot at some other YouTuber because he always make deck lists just without super combos. I don't know, but he seems like a nice guy, so I'm gonna let him live his life. Weird. We don't start YouTube beef. There's a reason to do that. I might have. 3 copies is on Goten, Strong of Heart. This card's really cool because when you combo him, if your leader card's a Broly card, you choose up to 1 red extra card that's a field spell and energy cost of 2. So Dormant Legend, place it in your drop and then shuffle, and then you get to untap 1, and if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, you draw. So you get to kind of replenish, and again, sack Dormant Legend. Now the reason you want to sack Dormant Legend is that's how you get to play the 4 and 6 drop Brolys. And again, the 6 drop Broly is a really strong card. We'll get to that in a second. And the fact that it untaps an energy for you and then you draw. Goten's it's not a bad card. It just helps the deck a lot. 3 copies of Trunks Deluge of Power. This is a draft box card, not just like Son Goten. Son Goten is a magnificent collection card. I know things. Trunks, when you combo, if your battle card of battle is red, you can give it +5. So it's kind of like Goliathite for the green Broly deck. You just make some. It's like a pseudo +10k, except you make it +5 for the turn. So like that in combo with Digging Deep is really good. So you can make Digging Deep a base 25k for the second swing. And Digging Deep is in here for 3 reasons: 1, to self-awaken; 2, to combo with Trunks; and 3, to combo with Champa and Beerus to give it double strike, so you can just do a lot of crazy things with the card. 4 copies of Broly Rapid Barrage. You could probably swap this down to 3 in the attempt to boost Champa and Beerus to 4. But so what Broly does is when you play him, you get to -10k to one of your opponent's battle cards, and he's an arrival for red. And when your opponent combos, you may discard 1 card, place it in the drop, and then choose one of your opponent's combo area cards, and kill the combo, and then you negate it for the turn. So like if your opponent combos Bardock aggressively, you can just kind of kill it. If they combo Bardock at all, you just kind of kill it and be like, all right, cool, you didn't combo the card. It's also really good against U6. This deck is really good against U6, and it's kind of funny how like much it dominates it. We talked about Champa. We talked about Topo twice now, at least once in this video so far. Card's just stupid good. There is a reason why it's a $10 common. Broly Tragedy Foretold, red-green arrival. Just like the 4-drop, you can only play him if Dormant Legend's in your drop area, which is why Goten's really important. But when you play him, you choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and you use -15. This card... Still sick. This card coming out turn 2 is really strong, because it just kind of tells U6 to stop playing the game. And then it has the same effect for Broly. But you don't have to the same effect as the 4-drop Broly, except you don't have to discard any cards, and I think that's really, really strong. That in tandem with Rapid Barrage essentially means that your opponent will never get to combo things into play ever. And then main win con of the deck is SS3 Scramble. This is probably my favorite secret rare right now still. Power of Bertara is kind of creeping up there. The card's just absurd. But comboing in on like a double strike attack or even a single strike attack when your opponent's at 3, going red-green, tapping 5, and playing Scramble and just burning your opponent for 2 directly, and then making sure your opponent can't combo 2 or lesses, while also having like both Brolys on the field, it's kind of absurd and really fun. And just, I look for excuses to throw this card, to make red-green decks so I can play this card again. 2 copies of SS Broly Unseen Force. This is the green version of the Goku Black. Draw 2, discard 1 if it's, if you have a red-green in your not combo area, your energy area. And then you can KO a card with total cost injury of 3 or less. That part's not as relevant. If you're playing against Kidku, you can actually just blow their board up, which is kind of cool. But drawing 2 cards is helpful in the beginning. So like what you could do is like swing leader, combo the Sun Goten on turn 2, drop Dormant Legend, and then play Broly, like the SS Broly, or you could arrival in the 6-drop Broly if you want to do actually. Because you'll have a red-green in your combo area. Still. 4 copies of SS Broly Legend Unleash. This is to deal with the second Dormant Legend that's in your leader area, because you don't really want to use its effect too much. The Dormant Legend, not the Broly. But, so what you can do is, if your opponent has 3 or more energy, you just kind of sack the Dormant Legend from your battle area and play him for free. And then when you play him for the ratio of the turn, if your leader card's a red Broly, you can activate Awaken, even if you have 5 or more life. So, like, if your opponent is refusing to kill you, and, like, not awaken you so you get all your big plays, you can be like, alright, well, you know what, screw you, I'm gonna do this. Boom, sack the Dormant Legend, here's that. Another 19k body, swing stuff, it's a 0+5k, so you can just combo it away, and you're golden. 2 copies of Super Saiyan Son Goku, Energy of the Gods. This card is pretty good in red-green decks. It's just a green card for the most part to combo. However, if your opponent has 2 or more battle cards, you get to play him, and you draw a card. 1-drop 15k. It's not as good as it is in Pan, because in Pan you draw 2, but again, small aggro beaters are always a good time. And finally, we have 4 copies of Vegeta the Cruel. card is really good still. I mean, it's not getting as much play in this format as I think it should. So what you do is, when you play it, if it's your opponent's turn, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards of 4 or less and kill it, and then your opponent warps one card from their hand. Just like, as I said with Pan, you don't get as much value as Pan does, but like, you kind of hand control your opponent, which you're doing in a way with the 6-drop and 4-drop rollies, and you get to do a lot of really cool stuff with it. If you're looking to play red-green, if you have the Seeker Rare, and you have like the Champa and Beerus's, and you just want something fun to play, I definitely recommend this. You have a really good U6 matchup. You have a pretty decent Apes matchup. Red-yellow Apes might be a little bit different. I'm not too sure, actually. But, again, you get a lot of really cool stuff out of this. Especially, like, playing Digging Deep, Trunks, and Champa together just feels really good. Like, it's such a cool, fun interaction. And that alone almost makes me want to play red-green at, like, the next local I go to. Next up, we have Sandy Cater's list from Euros. Sandy's a really good friend of mine, and I asked him if I could talk about this deck in particular, because while I usually try to adapt everything, to tweak it how I would, I don't know what I would do to this list. It's definitely not a super meta deck, but holy crap is it fun. So, he played androids. Just, green, yellow, androids with, like, good stuff. He played one Champa. I guess if you don't know what androids do, so the leader reduces the energy cost of android 17 and 18s in your hand by 1. So the 3 drops become 2 drops, and the 4 drops become 3 drops, and all that. When your life's at 6, you can draw to awaken, and then on the awaken side, your leader counts as a 10k until you hit 4 or less, which isn't, not too irrelevant. And then, it decreases the cost of androids in your hand by 1. So, and then when you attack, you draw a card. So, the leader, not too relevant. It just lets you play like, really good cards that would be good on curve as they are a turn earlier. So, diving in the main deck, you got 1 copy. I say that a lot. 1 copy for Furthering Destruction Champa to throw on your critical attackers. Actually, is there a critical attacker in the deck? No, there isn't. Wow. Oh, well, you got the 1-drop Gohan. But, like, just as a way to ensure game. 3 copies of King Vegeta Surprise Attack to throw on the Deadly Defender. While it doesn't work the same way it did before, you can still try and make sure your Deadly Defender or blocker survives the attack. And then kind of just go in and be like, alright, cool, King Vegeta. It has revenge for the rest of the turn. It does the same thing that Topo does. It just kind of says, please stop attacking me. 2 copies of Newfound Power to get yourself to 6. And also just, it's good 15k critical. 4 copies of Shocking Death Ball to blow stuff up. 2 copies of Defending Father Paragus. It's the best super combo, except when you're an android, because Stout-Hearted Android 16 is right there in contention, making your opponent discard a card. You are not playing a hand control deck exactly, but you have hand control elements to it. 2 copies of Preemptive Strike. It's Denial of Hope, but a little worse. If you wanted to, you could swap this out for the new version of this card that says the same thing, except your opponent has a choice to discard 2 cards instead. It's not as... I think it's worse than Preemptive Strike, but there might be formats where it could be better. Like in a format where Chain Zeno is a thing, it's definitely not better, because your opponent just discards 2 because they're getting rid of their hand anyways. But I'm sure there's a time where that card could be better than Preemptive. 4 copies of Deadly Defender Android 18. Card is good, very, very good, especially when you make it a 2-drop. Deadly Defenders have barrier, and they say that your opponent's card can't attack your leader; they have to attack it. Which is why when you give it Revenge and I think 10k for the turn with King Vegeta Surprise Attack, it's really good. 2-drop Android Energy Guard Android 17. It is a essentially a 2-drop barrier blocker that restands at the end of your turn when you attack with it. It's good. Just good stuff to beat people with. 3 copies of the DPR Son Gohan. This is just a way to ensure you awaken turn 2. You get your 2 cards in hand. Really useful, really interesting way to make sure you get to that point. 4 copies of Vegeta the Cruel. You play your multicolor, which is the Android 18 and Krillin combo, and just kind of blow stuff up, just like we talked about with the Broly deck. Krillin Android 18, green yellow arrival stuff. Opponent choose 1 card in their hand, place it in the drop area, and then you just choose the keywords to go on one of your opponent's battle cards and negate it for the turn. So, like, if your opponent goes in all in on a double strike, you can just kind of turn it off and you're golden. 4 copies of Limitless Energy Android 17. Going a little bit faster because this video is getting to the long point in time. When you play this card, if you lose green, blow up one of your opponent's cards and KO it. It's a barrier blocker for 3. It's also spot removal. Pretty good in this format. 2 copies of Super 17, the Infernal Machines, double strike. He can't be negated, and when you play him, you can discard 2 and make your opponent discard 2 as well. Just a really good way to end the game, especially if you've been starving your opponent of cards. One copy of Fearless Assault Krillin. I don't know if that was correct. I don't know if that's the amount that he played into the list, but if you did, say D, you're a bad man. It's just an extra copy of Self Awakenings as well as pushing for critical as well, while coupled with probably Champa or just a combo and get the arrival effect on Krillin and Android 18. 4 copies of Champa the Trickster, just to tell your opponent, no, that card you're playing goes in rest mode. Please don't attack me. And then Remote Serious Bomb for removing threats like the Broly BR decks. I guess if your opponent posts up in 1 Bardock Ape, you can get rid of that and not have to worry about it. And then 3 copies of Dark Temptation Toa. Makes your leader 15k if you're unawakened / partially awakened, or a 20k otherwise. And then makes your opponent discard 1 card. Now, so there's one other thing I forgot to mention that the leader does. And what is also really helpful for playing around cards like Denial of Hope, as well as Vegeta the Cruel, or not Vegeta the Cruel, anything that says like 15k or less. So the Awakened Side leader increases 17 and 18's battle cards by 5k when your life is a 4 or less. It also increases the leader. That's how you get the bump. But it makes sure your 4-drop Limitless Energies and your Deadly Defenders are 25k, so you can't Denial of Hope them, which is really cool, especially in a format where Red's very popular. Big fan of that. Like, I really like the fact that you can just 2-drop, or for 2, drop 25k and not have to worry about getting hit with Denial of Hope. Yeah, so this is green-yellow androids. Sandy obviously did not win Euros, but this is a really cool deck. I applaud him for bringing it. I know he didn't do bad with it either, though. Like, he did pretty well, I think. I think he went 5-3. No, he played 9 rounds. 5-3-1 maybe? I don't know. He did well, though. And I'm proud of him. Moving on to the next list. And final list. This is U6 Alien Kefla. I love this deck. It's so fun. If I had access to all of my U6 cards, like my Champa and Vaduses that my teammate has been borrowing for 3 weeks, I would probably build the deck and play it. But that's honestly all because of the first card that we're going to talk about in a second. But if you don't know what Kefla does, when Kefla attacks a leader card on the unawakened side, you may discard a U6, draw 2. You're going to cycle through your deck, you can see all the pieces you want to. I mean, 80% of the deck is a Universe 6 card. So you got a lot of card draw. Awakening, untap 2, energy, and then on the awakened side, attack, draw a card, activate main, choose one U6 in your hand, discard it, and then choose either your leader or a whatchamacallit, Universe 6 battle card, and give it double strike for the turn. So you can make your 4-drop Kale, double strike crit. You can make Chop Vados double strike. You can make Meteoric Energy double strike. Just all these various cards in the deck that you can make double strike, while also making your leader double strike, which couples really well with the Angry Jelly Bean, Mogonon Alien Bonds. So this is a red card that does not have a color restriction on playing it. That's right, it has no specified cost. You can just tap two blue and play the damn thing. Activate battle, bond 2, aliens, which, again, your entire deck is alien because all the U6 cards are alien except for Champa and Champa Vados because they're gods. So what this does, you get to choose up to one of your red alien cards in battle and it gets plus 10k. Now, the reason I really like this is you can pick your leader and make your leader a 25k during either player's turn for the rest of the turn. So it's essentially like having a double Senzu Bean. That's why I called him a Jelly Bean. Instead of a Senzu Bean, he's a Jelly Bean. Yep, Katie just said, oh Jesus. That means I'm doing my job right. Yeah, so it's really good for defense, especially if you establish multiple of them. It's kind of like playing Topo. Is your opponent going to swing their 20k into a 35k leader every time? Probably not. But you can also make your leader huge as shit when you're going for game. While also making, I think it just says red. Yeah, red aliens. So you can make Champa, the Destruction, Augmented. That's not an alien, it's a god. Kefla, that was the card I'm thinking of. You can make Kefla, Roar of Destruction, really big. So this card is like the MVP of the deck for just the shenanigans that you can do with the leader. Next up after the Jelly Bean is 2 copies of Champa Destruction Augmented. You can tap 1, choose 2 cards in your hand, place them in the drop, choose all god and alien cards in your battle area, and they get plus 10k in double strike. So, yeah. You make Kefla bigger, you make all of the U6 cards big as hell and giving them double strike. So the 1-drops become viable threats. Kale again becomes double strike crit. So just all, really good things that you can get out of that card. You don't get as much value as the Porunga Veggies version of the deck does, but you get some cool stuff out of it. And I mean, if you play Beerus Fickle God, you can give it double strike and, justify playing the card. Like physically playing the card on the battlefield. Kefla Roar of Destruction is your next card. This card is one of my favorite cards from the draft box. It is like super underrated. It's double strike, activate battle, tap 2. If you have 4 or more energy, you may bounce 2 alien cards from your battlefield other than them, and you bounce them to your hand, and then you get to play Kefla. And then when you play Kefla, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 20k for the turn. So you can do this too during either player's turn, and you can do this after it could be like your last attack with your leader, or like it could look like your last attack, and you swing your leader, like all right, whatever, and then tap 2, bounce. Or if like your opponent's at 2, they've negated all your relevant attacks, and you're just like, all right, well, you know what, swing this 1-drop Kale. Cool, no negates. Set a combo, you just tap the 2, bounce Kale, bounce some other random card, summon Kefla, swing Kefla, and then hopefully just Moganon 4 times and make it a 60k double strike your base before you combo, because I think that would be super fun. 3 copies of Kale, so you play this card to add back the Keflas, the Kales, the Seeker Rares, any U6 that you discarded from the leader effect, because you want to prioritize discarding 4 drops or higher. That way you can make use of the 1-drop and add stuff back. It also helps your mill matchup. 4 copies of Senzu Bean, 3 copies of Beerus Fickle God, that's your energy fixer. 4 copies of Sisterly Bonds Kale. You're playing a Universe 6 leader, so you get to actually use the card. Turn 2, just look at the top 10 cards of your deck, find a really good U6 card and play it. By U6 card, I mean Kale or Kaba, aka Kefla. Caulifla. Man, all the vegetables sound the damn same. 4 copies of Champa and Vados, Capricious Gods. Not Capricious Gods, Gracious Aid. I'm losing it, man. Gracious Aid. This is the card that reduces, all of your U6 by, 2 0 plus 10Ks instead of being 1 plus 10Ks. It's really good. 3 copies of Kale, the Awakened Sister. 4-drop, 20k crit. That can bounce back a opponent's card in rest mode and then negate its effects. I don't know anything. I can't think of a relevant example as to why you would do this besides getting rid of maybe a Bardock Ape if your opponent doesn't have Planet, because then your opponent can't comp them into play anymore. 3 copies of Kefla, Peak of Perfection. Again, you're playing a Universe 6 leader, so you can actually get value out of the effects of energy tapping and stuff. 1 Meteoric Energy Efla. It's not amazing. You honestly could swap it out for the 4th copy of Fickle God, but I think the card's really fun and really stupid when it actually happens. When you activate Aegis, you just choose up to 3 of your opponent's energy and tap them. So you can kind of, again, just tell your opponent to please stop playing and just end their turn. 1 copy of Power of Potara, Vegito, Kefla, and Zamasu. Card's broken. It says tap 4 cards, draw 4 cards, and it's triple strike. How is that not good? Katie's face right now, and I just said that to her. Yeah, seriously. If you don't own the Secret Rare, it's blue and yellow. It's always going to be somewhat relevant. That color combination is never going to be bad. Meanwhile, a year from now, someone comes back and comments, "Guess what, Dylan? Blue yellow is somehow bad." 4 Caulifla, the one drop that searches the top 5 for a U6. It adds like 80% of your deck. 3 Caulifla. This taps down your opponent's cards. There's also the Self-Awakener in the deck. So this deck's biggest problem is Self-Awakening. If you can't get to 4, you're going to probably have a rough time against Shenron. I built the deck knowing it was going to have a rough time against Shenron. You could put copies of like the 1-drops that attack and take a life in here just to make sure you don't die. But in an aggro, or not an aggro format, but a format where like everyone punches your leader, you could probably get away with not meaning rig real Self-Awakeners. And then last up, 4 copies of the Super Combo, Magetta, Defender U6. You can add this off the 1-drop. It's also a U6 card, so if for some reason you have to discard it with the Kefla leader on the front side, you can. And then 4 copies of Caulifla, the Awakened Sister. The card's really good. It's double strike, and it taps an energy down. Or a battle card. Yeah, battle card or energy. It's really good. Really good, especially when it's a 0 plus 10k because of Champalados. Alright guys, that is 6 decks that I would consider looking towards, or playing and looking at in the month leading up to set 8. Starting later this week, I'm going to be posting content for set 8 decks that I think people should try, or set 8 strategies, stuff like that. I'm going to probably work my way through every color and try and make a version of something. Probably make a version of every leader, which once I get to the Android 21 stuff, I'm probably going to want to shoot myself, because I'm not too interested in that besides the starter coup variant, which, again, I will make a deck profile about. Alright guys, thanks for watching. More content going up through the week. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Bye!